Now, Doron is the team leader for financial support services at JewishCare.
I am.
A very, very important area, and your team is helping people live within their means, budget, plan, and also, interestingly, and I'd like to start with this one because it's just so topical, is housing affordability. And especially within the Jewish community, if we want to live in Caulfield or South Caulfield or Bentley or wherever it is, these suburbs are becoming more and more ridiculously expensive. So, and I know you had a forum on housing affordability late last year. Tell us a little bit about that first.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on, Gary. It's always a pleasure to be in these studios, so thank you. We did have a housing affordability as part of our financial literacy program. That was the first in our series. We've actually had 4 since then. And that went very, very well. We had between 60 and 70 people at that forum. We had 4 different real estate agents and a broker talking to first home buyers and first home renters and providing tips about getting into the market from both. I mean, some people prefer to rent, some people prefer to buy or
We're
can
brought
afford.
up with the culture of buying in this city, aren't we?
Absolutely, and some people prefer to rent first, which means renting while actually getting into the property market by investing. And either way it depends on your own personal circumstances.
So, how does a young family struggling, they're both working, afford a house that might be worth, well, it's north of $1 million if they're going to be buying anywhere sort of close to the Caulfield area. Bentley, I think I just told you beforehand, there was a vacant block of land in my street in Bentley that went for $2 million last month. It's just crazy.
Well, without sounding condescending, I mean, it is hard work and discipline, and that is part of it as well. And look, I personally come from I don't come from a wealthy background. I don't come from, so I also did it through hard work myself, and I got my own first property at a very young age, by saving and making sacrifices. I'm not going to get into the whole smashed avocado thing because I think that's ridiculous. But it is about saving and living within your means. But there's also some assistance, and we're very, very lucky. I'm very privileged to be managing, staff and programs that offer our community with some significant assistance. For example, Empower interest-free loans. One of the things that we assist people with are for first home buyers. We can lend first home buyers up to $25,000, which interest-free. For a term of approximately 3 years.
So is that to help with a deposit?
That is also, well, ideally that's to help either with either reducing or eliminating lenders' mortgage insurance.
Right.
So we ideally don't want our community to borrow more than the 80% mark, because if they do, 80% value of the property. Because if they do, then they're going to be lumped with a huge burden of lenders' mortgage insurance, and the cost is significant. And if we can help that, if we can help those people get into the market and avoid that cost or eliminate or reduce that cost, that'll be great.
Right.
Again, stamp duty is another big thing. If we can also help with the deposit, great. But really those are the clients that are really struggling because of stamp duty or because of lenders' mortgage insurance that are really struggling the hardest.
So the Empower interest-free loans, obviously you need to qualify, and not everybody is able to qualify for it. What are some of the criteria for that?
Okay, so you need to be 18, you need to be a Victorian resident,
right,
and you need to be able to afford to repay the loan. So yes, it is interest-free, but the accountability is there on you to repay the loan, and you need to have guarantors, okay? And, there are specific requirements around guarantors, which I won't go into too detail, but you can ring up our front door, JewishCare's front door, and we can, they'll go through a very, very quick screening process, and then my team will take over with our dedicated lending relationship officers.
We might start a storm at your front door if they're advertising Empower loans.
Well, we're also, it's community funded.
Right.
100%. We're very, very lucky and privileged to have community funds.
Right.
And also, we're also very lucky to have 12 independent volunteers of JewishCare who have been around for a very, very long time, and they approve the loans. So there are also there's very strong accountability and delegations within the operational structure. So my team originates the loans. We have a volunteer committee, also registered volunteers of Jewish Care who approve the loans every month, dedicate their time,
Okay. Now, obviously, financial difficulties, which is probably what you deal with, I guess, financial difficulties, and plus helping people plan.
Yes.
They go across the whole range from aged care, people who are transitioning into retirement, people who are transitioning from home to care, to young families as well facing growing difficulties. We only need another bump up in interest rates, which must be forthcoming in the next 12 to 18 months to see even more difficulties. So it's a very wide range, a broad spectrum. So where does most of the demand hit you?
It really is. It's a very good question, Gary, but it really does hit a broad spectrum in terms of the age group. So, whether it's our loans program, where we've had people from 18, 20 to 70s and 80s, right across the spectrum. Very fortunately, we've got an even gender balance as well,
right?
Which is a side issue, but. When it comes to our financial counselling service, we also have a broad range of age groups coming in. We have, in terms of our aged care, one of the most common questions we have is transitioning to aged care.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That is a significant, and that was based on our last week's forum.
Tell us about last week's forum.
There were endless questions in terms of bonds, which are called RADs. And the different fee structures that are involved in getting into aged care, the difference between ongoing fees and RADs. Estate planning,
what are RADs? Pardon my ignorance.
So RADs are refundable accommodation bonds, which are the old bonds.
Which is a bond, okay.
So, so that's to be clear, and obviously there are two types of fees for that. So without going into too much detail about aged care, that was a very, very common, and we certainly will be doing a lot more in that front in terms of our financial literacy program.
Right.
In terms of, so just to answer your question about our forum, we had Ronnie Horan and Jeffrey Pell join, so I moderated a discussion between them, and of course John Rawling from also from Joseph Palmer and Sons, and Joanne Cochran from Jewish Care, all experts in their field, talking about the issues that are faced, and again some of the questions. Coming back, we're in the middle of our post-forum survey, and some of the strong questions that are coming back in terms of estate planning are advanced care plans and wills, and the difference between power of attorneys and home care. And residential home care, as well as residential.
These are really difficult
as well as
residential
care. Absolutely, and this is one of the key points that I wanted to really come across from the forum was about planning, and I think that did that. You really need to plan. For example, if you're getting into aged care, plan it at least 5 years in advance, if not more.
I guess we've got this emotional issue. People as people age.
They don't want to talk about it.
They don't. Well, they don't want to talk about it, but they don't want to give up the independence of either having a driver's license or, more importantly, being at home and being independent at home, cooking at home, getting around at home, administering their own medication if they have to. All of these things, and people fight. They resist to change that, and of course, eventually, it's something that's necessary for them.
Which is why we're sorry to interrupt you, but which is why actually we're seeing a lot of people inquiring about home care. A residential.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Yes.
Yeah. So
because that's a costly undertaking as
absolutely.
well.
And it is a costly undertaking, but there are various packages and government packages that people can actually get assessed for through the government's My Aged Care website. And of course, if there's any questions, Jewish Care can also assist with that as well. We've got a great home care team as well.
Okay.
And all of that can be inquired through Jewish Care's front door.
Okay, so if I didn't go to the forum and I didn't know about it or whatever, but I've now been landed with this issue and I have an aged parent, guardian, whatever, how can I find out the details of what went on in the forum?
very simply, just ring Jewish Care 8517 5999,
Right.
or info@jewishcare.org.au.
Yep.
And go and ask our front door. Lovely ladies at the front door, very, very friendly.
Okay.
And they'll be able to put you in the right direction.
And this is a mix of program managers too, because we're
Yeah.
talking about home care and financial care mixed together,
Absolutely.
hand in glove. So I'm assuming your
We're all-
organisation works like a well-oiled machine, and
Well-
this happens like that.
I'm really, really glad that you mentioned that, because, one of the first things that I wanted to also mention, when I came on here, was that we are an integrated team. So, you've had my boss on here, Marilyn Craner, quite a few times, who has been integral in forming the integrated approach, not only at Jewish Care, but in particularly through individual and family support services, of which financial support services falls under. So, all of our programs within the organisation work very, very strongly together.
Okay.
Whether it's financial counselling services, one-on-one financial counselling, Empower Loans, our financial literacy offering, our Saver Plus, government-funded program.
I wanted to get into that.
Yep.
What is it? It sounds like a financial institution offering with that nice name. It sounds like something that you'd find on TV or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what is it? It's got a really nice name, got a nice ring to it, absolutely. But Saver Plus is our probably individual and family support's only government-funded program. So most of our services are all donor-funded by the community. So this is our only government-funded. The government has awarded Jewish Care the contract to service the city of Glen Eira, Port Phillip and Kingston. And it's designed as a Saver Plus... Sorry, it's designed as a financial literacy offering for those on healthcare cards,
right,
and for an educational purpose. Okay. So we deliver that program. That program is an incentive scheme.
All of the people
all of those people in those regions that qualify.
Right.
And it's an incentive scheme. I don't particularly like the word scheme, but it's an incentive program.
Right.
That's coupled with, importantly, a financial literacy offering known as Money Minded. And it's the operations are funded by the government, and the matched savings program is funded by the ANZ Bank.
Okay. And does it take it to the level where you would work one-on-one with participants to help them actually plan a budget?
Absolutely. So it is a group program, but we can certainly,
if I
provide.
put my hand up and
absolutely.
say, that's a great lesson, but I'm not sure how to do this, that and the other with my own stuff, and I don't want to talk about it in front of everybody.
Yeah, so on that note, we'll help. The Saver Plus program is a group program. So in that particular instance, that's a perfect time where we actually say, look, we've got a financial counselling offering,
right,
and then we can provide some assistance through our financial counselling offering.
So you deliver this program to people right across the community, whether they're Jewish or not.
Correct.
If they came to you demanding the personal planning program, would you deliver that as well?
We would do, we would certainly. So we've got a great program. Sorry, a great staff member, Henry Frankel, who manages the Saver Plus program, and he's absolutely qualified to discuss some personal. We wouldn't necessarily go into personal, too many personal details, but he's available for one-on-ones as well.
Okay, that's terrific. You're listening to Talking to the Max, and we're talking about financial support programs through Jewish Care. What are some of the most difficult issues that you face, or most common issues that you face? I guess that's the real thing. What's the most common demand that you have for your services?
We've already mentioned housing affordability, Gary, so we'll leave that. But I think living within your means, but also credit card debt,
right.
I like to lump it in with consumer debt,
right,
and whether that's personal loans, car loans. Unfortunately, there's still some payday loans out there as well.
Really?
We really want to try and avoid that.
Like crazy.
When I presented, we've done some financial literacy programs at school, and I like to just really hype on the fact that if you see the word payday loans, if you see cash only loans, stay away from it. Run. Because that is still, people get into trouble.
And people get sucked in too by the advertising.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to, mention specific names of companies, but because we don't have any affiliations with anyone. But if you see any, just for example, Cash Converters or Nimble, I don't want to get into trouble with advertising, but don't get sucked into it. If you're in financial hardship, if you're in trouble, come to Jewish Care, and we can help you. We can help you with two things, and that's our financial counselling service.
Yeah,
they're great advocates. They're absolutely fantastic advocates for our clients. They know how to liaise with debt agencies, with banks, with the ATO. They know how to maximise your Centrelink entitlements, all that kind of stuff. Yep. So if you are in trouble, if you are in financial hardship, we're the place to come to.
Okay, that's great. Plastic is ubiquitous now. I mean, everywhere you go, I hardly ever carry any cash anymore. Everything is on plastic. It's easy for that to be a credit card, not a debit card.
Yeah.
Part-time work is increasing enormously, so people are probably earning less. So are things getting tougher out there? I guess that's my question, because I think, and that's before we see interest rates inevitably start to hit the bottom and turn upwards. Are things getting more difficult? I think we see charities saying it's harder to raise money, all sorts of things like that.
Definitely, things are getting tougher out there, and for everyone, organisations, business confidence, all that, wage growth, things are definitely getting tougher out there. So,
and not to mention Jewish school fees as well,
and school fees, and amongst other things. And when you look into all those expenses such as private school fees,
which are
if you want to send your child to a private school, or housing affordability, which is necessary, and of course food and clothing, which is absolutely critical. It all adds up. Groceries add up. So it's really just a matter of sitting down and looking at your budget and seeing what you can afford and what are the absolute essentials,
and making some priorities,
and making some priorities. And it sounds harsh.
Yeah,
it sounds harsh, but you have to look at how you balance that.
You have to make
choices, and especially if you're bringing up a family and you want to make sure. Pardon me, sorry.
That's all right.
Frog in my throat. Especially if you're going to bring up a family, you want to plan for that. Okay. You want to plan for your finances, plan and make sure what do you want to give your children? What do you what kind of life do you want to give them? You want to look at the essentials first: food, clothing, shelter. And then what kind of school do you want to send them to? Do you want to send them to a public school? Do you want to send them to a private school? And then how do you plan for that? Just like we were talking about aged care and planning at least 5 years in advance, if not more. When you're having a child, think about, or when you're in a relationship, if you get married or not, if you're in a relationship and you want to have children, think about that.
Yeah. What are the costs?
What are the costs?
That's right. That's right.
So it's really.
It's pretty scary.
It's not simple. I don't want to make it like it's just as simple as planning, because it's very complicated, and unforeseen events can happen. I want to make that very clear, and that's the other reason why you can come to Jewish Care is not only to help with planning and budgeting, but also to help with unforeseen. We see a lot of situations where, people have planned and done everything right. Well. Right, inverted commas, but something happens out of the blue. You lose your job through no fault of your own.
It happens a lot,
and there's suddenly a drop of income.
Yeah,
and where do you go? Fortunately in our community we've got, we have, there's financial aid, there's financial counselling, there's interest-free loans, there's financial literacy programs, and I don't want to forget there's also. That we've got social workers that do a fantastic job in our service coordination team.
Right.
That can assist with other instances.
Okay.
We're getting into a whole range of different topics now beyond financial support. But
they all mesh together.
They all mesh together.
Absolutely.
And so whether it's just to some of that point that you made, whether it's planning, which I think is critical, in all stages of life, whether you want to have children or not, whether you want to go on a holiday, whether,
if you're retired.
If you're retired, whatever the case may be, planning is important, but also, and especially for unforeseen events.
Yeah.
And if you have planned and you've done the right thing, you might even have a bit of reserves for that.
Yeah.
And you can always come to Jewish Care.
Okay. Doron Abramovici, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You led a wide range of advice that's available to the community and some practical help as well. Just repeat those numbers so that if people do want to avail themselves of your services.
8517 5999, info@jewishcare.org.au, and don't forget to go to our Facebook page as well. And also, just a very, very quick plug, we're also our last financial literacy offering for this financial year. We're actually hosting with the Small Business Mentoring Service on the 6th of June and the 27th of June a workshop at Jewish Care for women in business. And so if you're